Residents who live close to rubbish dumps have been complaining of the stench and the fumes which has been disturbing them and giving them certain health issues. There are some dump sites which were not inhabited before, but now as settlements began to expand, there have been certain houses that have been situated close to these rubbish dumps. Because of this, the fumes and the smell that comes from the rubbish is problematic to those who are close by. Speaking to some of the residents in such areas, they disclose to us that sometimes as early as 5 a.m., when they wake up, the whole place smells seriously bad and it's hard for them to breathe. They explained that even with the nose mask on, they still inhale these scents and sometimes have to put a rag over the nose mask to be able to breathe without smelling these nasty smells. They also explained that sometimes they inhale some of the smoke that comes from the burning that goes on in these rubbish dumps. But we have to find out, is it right for them to be situated in those areas? We also have to ask, is it possible that those rubbish dumps should be relocated? And then also, we have to look at if there are other ways for us to decompose rubbish apart from burning. So, as the world continues to advance in technology, and things like recycling have made it easier for us to do away with certain toxic waste, it is advisable that we would look into some and adopt them for our own use. The people who live by wondered if there's any other way for rubbish to be digested so that they wouldn't have to suffer all the problems that come from living close to these rubbish dumps. There are some who also explained that sometimes when the weather gets very hot, the smell is so bad and the heat does not help the situation in any way. They were also wondering if these rubbish dumps could be closed. But looking at these rubbish dumps and how big and how much of a pile they had created there, we doubt that would be possible. There will have to be a lot of work done for such rubbish dumps to be relocated. Now, going back to the location of these buildings and these houses and settlements which have gotten close to these rubbish dumps, we wanted to look into if they could relocate, and if they could, how soon they could do that. There are some who complained that if they had to relocate, there would be a problem because there's no particular place they have in mind to go to. The funny thing is, when you consider that to the fact that they have to breathe in these dangerous and toxic smells all the time, you notice that their lives are at risk. So which one is better? For them to risk the fact that they may not have a good place to stay if they are relocated, or inhale the fumes and choose to stay there and in comfort. There are also those who have expressed that these rubbish dumps were not supposed to be there in the first place, and so it would be better for them to be closed down. When you go into some of these rubbish dumps to look at the things that go on there, you'll notice that a lot of things are burned, but some are not able to be turned into ashes. There's the need for us to also look at recycling and other methods of digesting rubbish. We could also use rubbish as a benefit instead of making it a problem. There are people who have turned plastic waste into chairs, tables, and dustbins, and some have used it in making other sophisticated matter. The thing is, how many people are willing to put energy and time and the effort into making sure that our rubbish is not killing us but rather helping us? Another thing to look at is, when the people are willing, are they going to get the right sponsorship for their projects? Are they going to get the right people to purchase their products? Or are they going to be wasting their time trying to help this nation? All these questions arise because we are looking for a possible solution to help those who are too close to these rubbish dumps. You should know that whatever happens, we will always make rubbish. As long as we continue to use stuff and make purchases and enjoy the things that are available in this world, we will definitely produce waste in one way or the other. But the waste we produce shouldn't be the type of waste that will be a health hazard and a danger trap to all of us. There's also a need to separate the types of waste, whether liquid, solid, or gas. And there's also the need to distinguish between those rubbish that can be recycled and those that cannot be. Another major concern was the number of nose masks that were seen lying around different places. Before the pandemic, these types of nose masks were not seen around so obviously, but now every corner you turn into, there's either a nose mask here or there. The nose mask, which is supposed to help us to make livelihood a better one, is now being part of the products that are added to the rubbish. After use, people who are not able to dispose of them properly leave them lying on the ground and sometimes throw them into gutters and other places where they should not be. These nose masks, though good, have become bad in the fact that people are using them to loiter the places and our environment. For those of us who use the nose masks often, we would advise that when you are using the nose mask and you want to change it and you don't have anywhere to dispose it of, let it be in your back pocket or tie it in a little polythene or any form of paper and carry it till you reach a place where it could be disposed of, or till you reach the nearest dustbin and then drop it in. Instead of leaving it around, look for a place to drop it in. You should know that when you leave such a nose mask around, you are not only making it worse for more rubbish to come, but you are also making the possibility of getting a disease higher, because whatever waste and whatever problem may be in that nose mask could easily contaminate other environments. Now back to those who live by these rubbish dumps. They have shown us that people are able to live in hard conditions as long as they put their minds to it. We were speaking to one individual who we thought was endangering himself by moving around the rubbish dumps to get certain scrap materials that he could resell and reuse. By speaking to him, he made us aware that his body was built for it. When we asked him what he meant by that, he said that the blood inside of him is used to all those type of toxic environments, because since his childhood they've been exposed to such environments, and though sometimes they cough and have little problems, they are not sure that anything like death would come their way, because they've been trained for such environments. Whether this was a responsible answer or not, we leave it to the listeners to decide. But we would advise all those who find a means of income by these rubbish dumps to be very careful to have a form of a face mask or a nose mask, and not the ordinary nose mask which we see around, but with those that prevent a person from inhaling toxic gases, so that as they go about on these rubbish dumps, they don't put themselves in danger which could lead to loss of lives. We also note that sometimes the rubbish is not too much of a problem until the smells and the smoke of the burning comes up into the air and is dispersed in the vicinities close to the rubbish dumps. Some have said that when the rubbish is dumped there, they have no problem with it at all. It is only when they are burning the rubbish that the smokes become a problem to them. There are many ways these rubbish dumps could bring respiratory problems to individuals. There are some times where these problems may not be seen immediately, and so those individuals who are around these areas may think all is well. But for all you know, later in the future, certain problems like cancer and heart problems, bronchitis problems, and the like could arise because in their early days they were exposed to these environments. The good news is, it's not too late to do something about it. But for those who don't see any other way, they may only be putting themselves in a situation where 60 years from now, if they are still alive, they'll be going through very serious problems. For those who live close to rubbish dumps, the big rubbish dumps where rubbish collected from all the communities are brought and dumped, we would ask you to be very careful with the places and with the ways you get close to these dumps. Note that The flies could also contaminate your food when they move from these rubbish dumps to your homes. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.